I have a strategy for you guys that you can use when you first get out here to absolutely crush it with your online business, to not get bored, and to have a fantastic time. What is up, guys? This is Brett here from brettdev.com. On this channel, I talk about working remotely, moving to Thailand, all of that good stuff. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And also, if you are interested in working online, then check out the link in the top corner of this video, because that's going to be super helpful for you. Right, today, I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane. So, yesterday, I was chatting to a friend on WhatsApp, and he's planning to come to Thailand, and he's never been to Thailand before. And he was asking me, am I going to get bored? And I kind of thought, yeah, you will get bored, because when you get out here, you've got regular things to do. You can go and you can see all the sights and the scenery and all that. But you're not going to be surrounded by friends and family and things like that. And I thought to myself, I was kind of thinking, like, what was it like when I first got here? Because there are points in my life now where I get bored quite often. But when I first got here, I wasn't bored at all. It was like this crazy, exciting time. And it's a bit of a throwback to what I mentioned in the last video, all right? So I was talking about temptations and how you should avoid different temptations in Thailand, especially if you're trying to start an online business. Now, when you first get out here, if you come in here and you want to be a digital nomad, which I think a lot of you do, firstly, there's all these pitfalls that you could trip up on. You could start going to the bars, start trying to make friends by drinking alcohol and things like that. And that's kind of what I touched on in the last video. But when I first got here, I didn't do that, right? So I have a strategy for you guys that you can use when you first get out here to absolutely crush it with your online business, to not get bored, and to have a fantastic time, just like I did. All right, so the first year when I got to Thailand was probably the most productive year of my entire life, like hands down. And the reason was that before I moved here, I was interested in becoming a digital nomad, right? So I was looking at people on YouTube that were doing it. I was looking at people that were out here in Chiang Mai. They kind of gave me some inspiration to want to actually come out here. And I started researching like the co-working space scene and the coffee shops. And that's one of the best things about Chiang Mai as opposed to other places in Thailand, even as opposed to Bangkok. It's so convenient. There's such a large number of coffee shops, which are basically co-working spaces. All you do is you go in and buy a coffee, and then there's desks and Wi-Fi, and it's set up for co-working pretty much. It's because it's a university town, right? There's lots of uni students here, so it's not just foreigners that would use co-working spaces and coffee shop style co-working spaces. It's all the Thai students. So the city is perfect for that. And before I got here, I was researching, and I was just getting, I don't know, they don't excite me so much anymore because I'm used to it. But if you're coming from a place where that type of setup doesn't exist, then for me at the time, I thought it was fascinating. I felt like I was going to some kind of Silicon Valley, even though it's nothing like it. But in my mind, this whole cool, like, I guess it's kind of cool hipster culture of like working in coffee shops and stuff. Like, I was like, this is amazing. I wanted to work online, and I felt like Chiang Mai was the perfect setup. It had everything that I needed, and it does. So when I first got out here, that's all I did, right? And I would suggest, like right now, I don't go to that many. I'm not a member of any co-working space or anything like that. Sometimes I go to the coffee shops, like, because I can just go like once a week, grab a coffee, and just get out the house. And largely, I don't go to a lot of them now because I do a lot of online video content, which obviously you can't do very easily. Some co-working spaces, I did a review of a co-working space called Yellow. They have a whole setup for doing video, but you might want to check them out. But most co-working spaces, it's not easy to do video. If you're at home, you can do video a lot easier, right? So that's why I'm not a member now. But when I first got here, I I joined a co-working space called Pun Space, which is probably one of the most popular in Chiang Mai. They have 3 locations in the city, and there's that yellow co-working space that I just mentioned. There's Camp, which is in the Mayor Mall, 24 hours. Pun Space 24 hours, yellow 24 hours. So if you're a night owl, you just go up, you just scan your finger, you go in, you've got this huge, like funky office environment to work in and stuff. Amazing. There's so many of them all over the city. There's probably 20. Even now, during this period, there's still like 20 of them. So it's built for digital nomads. And when I first got here, I joined Pun Space, and I had a membership, and I only had 2 locations at the time, but I stayed in a condo building right behind it, and I was just in my element. So essentially, what I was doing is, for me, like, to not get bored in Thailand during that first year, I made working on my online business fun, right? So the whole experience of it was novel, it was new. I couldn't wait to sit at the laptop, go into the co-working space. It was fun, it was new. And I think that's like, if you're coming to Thailand to start an online business, this is probably why Chiang Mai is the best place. And if you haven't experienced that sort of scene before, it's amazing because it actually makes work fun, right? If you look at it the way I looked at it when I first came here, for me, work for like a year, it was super, super fun. And I just basically bounced around from different coffee shops and co-working spaces, and it gave me so much energy, and that's why I was so productive. I would, go into like Pun Space for like 2 or 3 hours. You meet loads of cool people in there. I'll get onto that in a second, but then I'll just get on my motorbike after I was getting tired on the laptop or whatever. I would just go out, I would jump on the motorbike, I would ride to a little like street food stall, eat. That was all novel and new and fun, eating Thai food, on like street restaurants and things like that. And then I'd just ride bike across the city to the other Pun Space, or to Mayor in Camp, the co-working space there, or wherever I wanted, because there were so many different options. And going on the bike would wake me up and give me my energy back. And then as soon as I'd get to the next co-working space, I'd be like in a brand new environment, and then just sit down and be like ready to go. That's such a cool thing that you can't get anywhere else. A lot of people ask me, should you start a business before you move to Thailand or once you get here? I think, I always say have a plan, but you don't need to have a business. You just have to have a solid plan of what you're going to do when you get here. Don't come here without a plan. Just know that I'm going to pursue this, and I'm not going to veer off track. If you have a solid plan, you have the action steps to follow, then yeah, save money, get enough money for a year or whatever, and then come out here and do it here, because there's so many benefits to it. If you can thrive off of that scene like I did in the first year, you're going to be so, so productive. You're not going to get bored. You're not going to get distracted by bars and alcohol and things like that. And on top of that, the coolest thing about going to the co-working spaces when you first get here is you're going to make a ton of new friends, like within a week. A lot of people say to me, oh, is it lonely out there? How do I meet new people? How do I meet people outside of the bars with the same interests? Well, if you're coming here to be a digital nomad, then that means you're interested in online business and working online. Co-working spaces are full of people that are interested in online business, working online, bettering themselves, and things like that. So, and trust me, everybody that comes here and joins those co-working spaces, they're all in the exact same boat that you are. And that's the best thing about it. Some people have been in there for 6 months, some people have been there a year, some people longer. Most people you'll meet in there have been in there for a month or 2. And within a week, you'll have, 10 new friends. You'll be going to lunch with people in the co-working space. Most of my, a couple of my solid, good long-term friends that I have now are from the first week when I was here in those co-working spaces. So they're an amazing place to kind of meet new people and things like that. And like I said, it just makes it exciting, right? It gives you the energy. What it did for me, like I said, I was putting in I was probably crushing out like 10-hour days, easily. easily. And when I was back in England, like, I couldn't be bothered to do anything. You know, if you just sit at home in your room, in your house, where you're not happy, you're miserable, you know, there's something to be said about, it's not as black and white as do it before you come here. Start a business before you come here. Don't do it because, you know, the reason, largely a lot of the reason people want to come here is because they're not happy where they live. And when you're not happy, you feel down. And when you feel down, your energy goes into decline and things like that. And you're not energetic. Whereas for me, when I got out here, it was like an explosion. Like, co-working spaces to me were so fun and awesome and new. Like I said, they're not awesome and fun and new. Like, the novelty does wear off, and they have worn off on me now. Maybe I should perhaps go back and join one. I always think about it. But at the time, they were very fun, very novel. And I guarantee you, if you've never been to Thailand and if you've never been to Chiang Mai, you've never seen a setup like it, right? It's so convenient, so easy. They're made for you, basically. It's like, that's why I say it's kind of like a Silicon Valley style environment, because, you know, you look at these big companies like Google, and people go to work at Google and they have everything catered for them. Like, it's so easy to get food, just coffee on tap. It's kind of like what the co-working spaces are like, right? I mean, not necessarily to that extent, like you don't have a chef in there or cooking for you or anything like that, but it's Thailand. So you can just walk outside the front door and just down the street, you have like 10 options of food, cost you $1. Just walk over there for lunch, grab $1 meal, go with your friends from the co-working space, come back. There's barista coffee bars in the co-working spaces, a lot of them. There's a fridge, there's make your own tea and coffee. Good vibe, everyone's focused. There's communal areas where you, if you're feeling a bit tired, you can just go and hang out, and that's where you meet people and start chatting. You know, I remember at Pun Space, people would go out the front of Pun Space and sit around on the tables out like in the gardens, and you know, you could just tell anybody going out there was tired of doing their work and wanted like a little break, a little bit of a chat, right? So when you're out here, you know, you're not going to have any friends. You're going to have this component of nobody to talk to. Might be like lonely, and you're going to get bored if you don't have anything to fill that time. You're going to go to the bars and things like that. That's why I spoke about that in the last video. But if you join these co-working spaces, that won't happen, and it's just an awesome strategy. Like, I would highly recommend it to anybody coming here that wants to start an online business. Don't rent a condo and just like sit in your room. You could try that. But that's when you do that, you tend to find yourself in those situations where, oh, I've been in the room all day, I'm bored. Do you know what? It's night time. I'll just go down to the bar for a beer, and then you start slipping. Join the co-working spaces, because if you're bored, you can go at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I when I first got here, my sleep schedule always been a bit crazy, but I'd be in there at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd find like 2 or 3 people in there. Also couldn't sleep. Thought they'd go in there, sit on the laptops. Sometimes I go there at 3 in the morning, like can't sleep, think I'm going to go and do some work. And eventually just not even working, just seeing another dude in there with the same problem. And we're just sitting there chatting for 2 hours, and fucking great, you know? Didn't have to drink alcohol, didn't have to get pissed. Yeah, just brilliant. Great strategy, guys. So I know this is a bit of a, you know, I didn't really structure this video, I didn't really plan it, and I'm kind of just waffling and rambling. But you get the idea, right? You know, I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video. How to not be bored in Thailand. I don't know. You'll see it because you're going to be watching it right now. So I would have already come up with a title. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to, like, you know, give you a bit of a strategy to avoid those problems. Like I said, yesterday I was speaking to a friend, and he was like, "Will I get bored?" And if you do that, if you come, like, if you do what I did in the first year when you come here, you won't get bored. You'll just absolutely crush it with your online business, and you'll have a load of fun doing it at the same time, just like I did. And I look back at those times were absolutely great. Yeah, really awesome, you know. Met loads of really good people. Like I say, a couple of my good friends I'm still friends with. I still have lots of good friends, I just don't see them because I met them at the co-working space, but then they've moved on and they've gone back to their home countries, or they're traveling around the world or something like that. But a couple of them are like Chiang Mai lifers, I guess you could say, and they're still here. So yeah, I hope that video helps you guys. I hope it inspires you for when you get out here. That is the path you should take if that's your thing. All right, and it doesn't matter. Again, before I go, it doesn't matter what age you are. Like some of my best friends that I met in those co-working spaces were like, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's people all different ages, male, female. It's not just like a young kids thing. You'll meet all different people, like at any age. So, if you're older, if you're 50 or 60 and you want to start an online business, don't think you have to come here and sit in your room and then spend your evenings, you know, like what a lot of the 50, 60-year-olds do here at the bar. Join a co-working space. They're good fun. Yeah, that's it for now, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Cheers.